Hi, and welcome to a quick demonstration of the ArcSight Logger 6 version demonstration scenarios. Here at HP, we actually have a number of demonstration scenarios. We call them use cases that we can demonstrate the capabilities of the product and how you would use it, and some simple scenarios just to demonstrate the overall capabilities of the solution. This is the first one. And we're actually going to talk about and demonstrate what we call lookup files and how they can be used as part of an investigation and searching capability within the Logger solution itself. So without further ado, I'm actually going to jump straight in and start running through the demonstration. So I've logged in and hey presto, the first thing we're actually delivered with is a very simple dashboard view just to show some generic information that we have. So I'm actually going to step through some various parts here. So first off, I'm going to jump to some simple things, and I'll just talk about this lookup files specifically. So we have this capability just to type in some little bit of a match, and we jump straight to that bit of functionality. So hey presto, here's our lookup files. These are the ones that we've previously defined, and we've actually added them to the system as a whole. And we can see there's a whole bunch here. I'm actually going to pick on this one, malicious addresses, so we can just click on it. And what it does is it displays the top 10 effectively in the list. We can see that there's actually an awful lot more in there, but the important thing here is that we have not just a list of IP addresses for our malicious addresses, we actually have a list of IP addresses, a category for these particular threats, and an overall scoring priority. This is actually part of the HP security research data set that we have, that we make available through our reputation and threat feed information as well. So there's some data there. There's actually quite a lot of data there. So that's okay. Well, actually, let's start having a look at some searching and some generic things that we can just very quickly start digging into. Now, the scenario we have is that we're actually a bit suspicious of some activity that we've seen on port 443 to some of our servers. So we actually want to dig into this a little bit more detail. Destination port equals 443. So we're interested in just doing a search. We're doing a field search here on this one, so we'll just quickly run that, and hey presto, we'll get a number of hits back with regards to some overall activities. Now we actually see there's not a direct impact of overall level of activity. We can see there's particular peaks of activity over this very short period that we have here. In this case, we're just doing 10 minutes. We can see there's a lot of data here, there's a lot of traffic accepted and so on. So wouldn't it be great if we can actually start overlaying some of this data with understanding what's going on from what we consider to be a threat reputation information here as well. So what we can do is we can just load a filter. So we can click filters, predefined ones that we actually have here. It's actually a saved search we have here. And if I just scroll down to my malicious lookup, so we're just doing a very simple search, load and close, and hey presto, it actually adds it into the search here. We hit go, and we do an overlay of the data that says anything that's a destination port 443, so SSL type activity, and in this case we want to overlay that with the additional information. What we're doing is we're actually overlaying this information from the list itself, so we can see there's some additional stuff here. So I can look at the products. Actually, I understand there's a whole bunch of different products here that we're getting the log data from. We can look at the categories that we're seeing as well. There's only 2 categories here, but most of this data is actually coming from what we have categorized as malware and botnet activity. And then we can actually look at the overall scoring. So what kind of priorities are we seeing here? Not massively high priorities, but something that we need to consider. So we can see there is some peaks here as well. And what's the IP addresses we're seeing? So actually, whoa, here we go. The vast majority of our data is actually appearing onto this particular IP address. These fields and views here are actually being automatically generated for us. So actually I can just click on that, and what it'll do is it'll add in that additional click through for the search and just give me the data where the IP address is that particular. So we can see all this additional data and all this additional information and log data we can see as well. So suddenly we can start very quickly digging into that traffic and understanding why we're seeing some peaks of activity, why we're seeing some of this impact of on port 443, and more importantly how that matches with some malicious and threat IP address information we have. That's okay, but wouldn't it be good to be able to display this in a graphical view to give us a bit more visual prompting for the information that we can see? So again, rather than me typing it, I'm actually just going to load another search for this one. So it's another save search. If I just scroll down, it's called malicious chart. And there it is. And load and close. It's a little bit more sophisticated here. There's some additional stuff going on. So we're looking it up. We're looking on the table itself. Still port 443 here. We're doing some additional things to do with categorization. So we're not parsing the data. An important thing here is that you can see some data here, but I'm not using regular expressions. I'm actually using the fields. I'm using the normalized and categorized data. In fact, you can see that here. We're actually describing the data and understanding it. I don't have to do regular expressions, and that's the critical thing. I don't have to start messing around with that. So I click go. And hey presto, I'll get a nice little chart which will break it down in a priority basis, going down from the most frequent to the least frequent here. It's just the top 10. I could actually make it a bigger chart as well, where the IP addresses are, what kind of outcomes, what kind of data, where is it source and destinations. And there's a table underneath here I can see and break it down further. So we can see some of the data hasn't actually passed through various of our, in this case, a web server or through our firewalls, but some of it has actually been attempted, and actually there is some success here. So the important thing is we actually probably need to be digging into that a bit further. So these are considered to be a threat. This is just a limited data set, and as you can see, we've only got a very limited amount of data here that we're looking at. It's a demonstration. If we had significantly more data here, we may want to, for example, export this to do some further analysis. I'm not actually going to carry this out, but I want to show that how easy this is to do. So we can actually export that data, we can put it into a different formats, actually take all the data, include all the data that we've seen in the search, and just export that and do some further processing and visualization if we choose to. But in this case, I'm not actually going to worry about it for here. So that's okay. Now what we want to do is dig into a little bit further around some of this and see what we've got here. Of course, I can change some of the ways the layout of this. I could even make this, for example, rather than a column, I can just quickly make that a pie chart and save all the settings accordingly, make it 10 or 20 or whatever I want from the view. The important thing is here we can define this. Now, this is just a search, but the great thing is actually I could set this to be some additional information we want to present, for example, in a dashboard. So I can click the dashboard view there, or I can just do dash here and it takes me straight to the dashboards. And the dashboards, you can have a number of sets here. So in this case, we have the security dashboards. So there's a whole number of things broken down by users and authentication and so on. So again, this is probably something I want to be looking at. For example, here, the test user has been a number of failed logins. Disproportionate, so I probably need to be looking into this and digging down. Of course, I could just click that and do some further investigation. But I'm going to carry on from what I'm doing at the moment. I just look at my top malicious activity and click and go through there, and we see another set of dashboard panels here, just letting it refresh, and hey presto, doesn't that look just like that search that we did before? And that's the important thing here is actually when we've done that search, we can create and craft and view the data we want to, and if we want to position that in a dashboard, absolutely, it's as simple as saving that and putting it into the dashboard itself, and we can even change the format of this dashboard and different panels and layouts and the view here. So we've just made it very simple and straightforward just to see what's going on. It gives us a very quick snapshot of the malicious activity, and there's our pie chart, and we can click the various parts, and if I click that, important thing is it drills down, and I can see in this case I've drilled down on a particular source and destination pairing where the outcome is a failure, and it's come from the Apache system, and now we can see some further data as well. So that's great, and that's really useful, and we've been able to drill into our port 443 activity and understand what's going on in a very simplistic and very straightforward manner, just by making some clicks rather than having to write some regex and try to hack through the data accordingly. It is literally just as simple as it looks. Just a final couple of quick comments around some of the little nice features that we have within the system to make it easy. There's a couple of little shortcuts we can do, so we can just quickly do that, and it actually gives us what we call the saved searches. So it gives us a list of all the previous saved searches that we've had. So in this case, I can just look at my failed logins, click the go button, and hey presto, it's actually going to give me a very simple view and chart of where are my failed logins coming from by product. So again, I'm seeing a vast number coming from my Unix systems, so again I can click and drill through. Very simple and straightforward from that point of view. And of course there is other little tricks and tactics we can use. We can even do what this one is, filter. So it gives me a list of the filters that we previously used, and hey presto, we can see there's all sorts of here. But let's have a look at everything that we've dropped at the firewall basis, and then hit go. And there's all our firewall traffic, quite a lot more data there, lots of information that's been dropped. Where is it coming from? Well, we can see there's lots of different firewalls in their infrastructure, what kind of, even down to what versions we're seeing as well. So a very quick view and step through of using the lookup list capability, mapping that with some existing log data that we have, doing some very simple searches, and more importantly, clicking through and drilling down into that data to understand in a very simple scenario of some unusual traffic that we're seeing on our port 443, and actually being able to visualize and map that against some lookup lists accordingly. So that's demo scenario 1 for the HP ArcSight Logger 6 demonstration scenarios. Thank you very much for your time.